Star is about to kick off, right?
May 25th.
May 25th.
Yep. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us on the CCA California podcast. Good to be with you another week. We certainly appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Tony, how have you been?
Oh, I've been good. It was a busy week this week.
Really busy.
I thought things were going to calm down after the 5 shows that we did. It is, in fact, the opposite.
You know, with your first year of shows and all that stuff, I'm glad you said that. Darin, what's up, man? 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row, man. Gonna try and make it 3.
Yes. Well, guys, for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, you may notice something different about our studio. We put in some work this week. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Tony, what do you think?
Oh, I think it looks really great. You know, you have a vision of what you think you want, and then it comes together, and you're like, yeah, this is a lot better than what I initially thought.
I'm glad you said that, because if you said we had to redo it, I wasn't going to do it. Like, all right, you're on your own.
Well, now the cat's out of the bag, Chris. I think we need to repaint and...
Awesome. Well, before we get started, make sure to go follow us on Instagram at CCA California. Make sure to go register for the 2024 Star Tournament at joincca.org. And without further ado, we've got Darin and Butch from 310 Rodworks with us. Darin, Butch, how are you guys doing?
Doing well this morning.
We're
Battling
doing
the cold, but we're getting there.
Yeah. I know we last saw you guys in Bakersfield. Has life kind of calmed down for you a little bit at all, or it's just rocking and rolling?
No, not at all. It just like Tony was saying, it's just gotten more hectic.
Yeah.
It's been good though. It's all for the good and kind of setting us up for the year. So we're excited about it.
Butch, how's the boat coming along?
It is coming along great. Weather has not been cooperating.
Yeah.
And a little lack of passengers there. So we'll be out here for the next couple of days and hopefully start from there.
Have you guys ran some trips?
We have.
Yeah.
Ran some trips out to Nick and been very successful with that. And we've got a couple of trips and both going to San Nick again tonight.
Nice.
Very
cool. So a long day for you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Well, let's get started here. Darin, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how 310 Rodworks kind of came about.
It really is a pretty long story. Started off.
We got time.
From junior high school. I think I was 13 years old, sweeping up and taking the trash out at a local tackle shop. I've stuck with it for so long. It's kind of all a blur now. You know, it's been a lot of years and a lot of different opportunities within the fishing tackle industry and fishing. But 310 Rodworks started about 6 years ago. And we came up with the idea, and the original intention was to help support Randy over at United Composites. He had just been forming the company, didn't have his production rod line out introduced yet, and so we thought he was going to need some additional resources and support. So 310 Rodworks was supposed to be an additional amount of production for him. He ended up getting his rod production department up to speed really, really quickly. Mm-hmm. And so 310 Rodworks ended up becoming just another custom rod builder. And so we started doing pretty much everything on UC blanks, but with a custom flair to it. I've been building rods for forever. And I would say it's got to be over 40 years now, starting at the store level and then working on my own and now with my own company. So we've done it a long time, but we don't do a lot of that crazy artsy kind of design work, thread work. We do a very functional, very clean built rod. And so that's what 310 Rodworks specializes in. The company, since we started with the custom rod building, we actually have opened up as a distributor of rod building componentry, We have our own line of grips now. We sell to Southern California rod builders as well as support some of the stores with their component needs, whether it's guides or reel seats, some blanks. We're there to support the community, rod building community. And so that's kind of where we're at now. We're just in the midst of expanding our operation to include our own line of production rods, and it's really coming together nicely. So
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating story. Starting from the bottom and working your way all the way up.
sweeping the floor, taking out trash, it's like it's that storybook. We started off riding our bikes from junior high school into the store on the days when it wasn't raining just to hang out there, and then they hired me just to take out the trash and sweep up. So I was there so much anyway, so.
Was fishing always a part of your life?
I would say so, yes. It's kind of cool to look back on it now. Before my elementary or preschool age days, like, I don't know, maybe 2, 3 years old, 4 years old, my mom would take me to the park, the local park, to feed the ducks and catch bluegill. So my mom was the
That's
one that
awesome.
would actually take me out to the park to go fishing. And so I was loving it back then. Got away from it for a little while, but back in, I think, 5th grade. So what's that, 10 years old.
Yeah.
Got invited to go to the Redondo Beach Pier with friends from school. And we get there and they go off, run around the pier and buying candy and stuff. I was absolutely glued to the rail.
Nice.
I could not leave because I wanted to get that bite. And that entire night, we never got one bite. And from that day to today, I've just been addicted.
Chasing the
It's, might as well put it in a syringe and shoot me with it because it's that good.
Wow.
It's kept me going all these years.
That's cool. That's awesome, man. Butch, what about you, man? What's your story?
Kind of the same story from as a young kid. Started playing baseball in 6th grade, and the baseball coach with my father, they would go fishing at what was the cannery, the Rocks, in Terminal Island. So we would go ahead and do that and go fishing. Then we moved out to Belmont Pier and started fishing off of Belmont Pier, and it was a big deal if we caught a bonita, and it was like, wow, we've really come a long way to catching a bonita off of Belmont Pier. Then kind of went at Hermosa Beach Pier. As a young teenager, maybe 15 or 16, I started flipping burgers at the Hermosa Beach Pier, and I would get my $40 for the weekend and run down to Hermosa Tackle Box and buy my fishing equipment.
Oh, nice.
And I've talked to Darin about this in the past because I still have some of that equipment from when I was 16 years old. I'm 63 today.
No kidding.
So I've been hanging on to that stuff. And then we moved on to the twilight boats and fished a bunch of twilight trips. And one day my dad said, hey, let's go do the 3/4 day trip. Well, I'd done enough of that on the twilight boats that one of the deckhands didn't show up. And I was like, what's going on here. Why don't you kind of give us a hand? And I was like, okay, sure. And next thing I got all this money in my pocket, and I'm like, this is great. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And moved on to decking on sport boats and occasionally do a twilight work in the galley to the point where I got my license in 1985, whatever the math is on that, and started working on a 6-pack out of Marina Del Rey and kind of became the niche night driver guy around the fleet, doing a bunch of different stuff. So worked on a lot of different sport boats over that time. I've been on the Eldorado since like 2008 with a couple of different other guys, and that's home.
Yeah.
I really like that boat. It's very comfortable. I always say she's big enough to take the weather, and also big enough where we can hide when we kind of get a little Like I'm getting a little tired of some of the guys, or they're getting a little tired of me. The owner of the boat, Steve Fukudo and TJ Slick, really put good electronics on that boat. It's very spoiling to work on that boat. It's so I've really enjoyed my time on that boat. Kind of moving back, settling back and coming into a kind of a semi-retirement deal, but still, always spending time on the water on the Eldo this year.
Night driving has been, I've gotten lucky enough to do it in the past and all that. And to me, it's actually super, relaxing and cool to do, because it's like basically you get to basically drive without having to deal with any customers or having that worry on trying to find the fish. Because usually you're following a game plan and all that. There's no, I guess, I don't want to say strategy, but there's really, you go from point A to point B safely.
Yes and no. So with the bluefin that's come up now you're looking for bluefin at night.
That's true, yeah.
So that's kind of changed it too. And I worked with one gentleman, Eddie Marino, on the Eldorado, let's say back in 2008. And we used to take a lot of notes. Every hour, what the water temperature was, where we were, and the one thing is you kind of look for a glow of light. So if you're out tuna fishing and you're going one direction and you see a glow of lights out in the other direction, you kind of take a bearing off of where they are and look at the plot and go like, hey, when he wakes up in the morning, like, there's guys out this way. Mm-hmm. And, we're going this way. Just to let you know that there may be something, or seeing boats stop. So if you're going to the island, you're going to Nick, it's pretty much that. It's that simple. But when you're fishing offshore, it's a lot. You're looking at a lot of different things when you're going offshore.
And over the last couple of years, you've been able to do that from Long Beach right there, because the bluefin have been out that way.
Correct, yeah.
Has the game plan kind of adjusted all that time to where it's like, okay, we always have to continue to look for bluefin because there's always that possibility, versus just going straight overnight to San Clemente or anything like that?
The problem with that becomes is when you're coming home and you're on a timeline and the fish pop up, you really can't stop.
Yeah.
You can see them, and a lot of times that boiling fish doesn't bite.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like everybody's getting all excited, and you do your best to stop on them, but
Might as well just smile and wave.
yeah, but our passengers are getting a little jacked up about it as well. So you gotta
They got to realize it's called bluefin chasing.
yeah,
Bluefin fishing.
right.
There is definitely a lot of merit to that, where it's like you almost have to become a skilled, boat handler and driver, because you're basically going on and trying to look in so many different directions, whether you're glued to your side scan versus the traffic versus weather and direction and all that stuff. It's very intricate at times.
It is. It's like we had one trip last year where the bluefin move at night.
Yeah.
And we're heading towards the mackerel bank, and it was just like, no, I don't want to go to the mackerel bank. This is a TJ telling me, he goes, I want you to head a little bit further west. And I'm like, okay, we'll go west. And as I go west, everybody's passing me going the other way.
Yeah.
Because the fish turned and everybody's on the fish the other way. So now we got to go back there.
Yeah.
Now you're thinking, shoot, what does everyone else know that I don't?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
What
true.
kind of information just got broadcast to everybody else?
Yeah, exactly.
What message did we miss?
Yep. Well, cool, man. That's awesome. Let's move on to rods. I know Tony has a bunch of questions when it comes to.
You always say that.
Don't you?
Every time it comes to tackle and like intricacy, Chris is always like, Tony has a million questions, because I don't know. I'm like tweaky about it.
I know.
Tackle
Better you
nerd.
than me. Darin, let's kind of go on, broadly speaking, over the line of rods for 310,
Yeah.
and, all the way down from, let's just start with bass fishing, all the way up to big bluefin and all that.
Sure. There's such a wide range of different techniques and different fisheries that we have here in Southern California. I have to say that the majority of what we do is Southern California centric. And having been involved in the fishing tackle business for so long, what we have and what we do here is very, very, very unique. It's very niche-y. As much as we want to feel like we're the most important thing to fishing tackle globally, we are just a speck of dust when it comes to the entirety of fishing tackle. Because of that, everything that we design and build, market, promote, it is not, in general, not used outside of Southern California. So we're literally approaching a business with just about almost no audience. And so what United Composites has done, and thankfully the gentleman who originally invented or developed the technology that United Composites uses, they had something so unique and so different than the Sabres at the time, then the CalStars, then, of course, True Lines and all these other manufacturers of rods. It was so different from that all of a sudden now they have a very thin profile, very light in weight, incredibly strong. And so we have aligned ourselves more with that brand, the United Composites brand, because of that unique quality. Not everybody likes it. Some people like a more traditional rod or the actions to the rods. But United Composites literally has everything from freshwater light, I wouldn't say ultralight tackle. I'm very specific about the freshwater trout fishing rods that I use because I do everything. I like to say from bluegill to bluefin. I like all of it, all of it. And so that ultralight stuff, it doesn't really have a home in the United Composites line unless you're doing the heavier end of it. But from, say, bass fishing all the way through, United Composites has a very, very good product. What makes them special and why we really like to develop other applications around their designs is their helical core. It keeps the blank round so it can deflect a long, long ways without failing. It's just a better way to build a fishing rod, in my opinion, just because of the way the fibers run within the blank. Of course, there's other brands that have some unique layups, unique compositions. But when it comes to the general design of the product, United Composites is very different. You could see that one of the rods that we had developed for the big bluefin, kite fishing, skipjack, live skipjack fishing is our Deviant, the 310 Deviant. That rod has killed so many big fish now since we introduced it about 4 years ago now. I think at the 2020 Fred Hall show, we introduced the 310 Deviant. It's a long rail rod that guys use to throw, put the kite out, put the balloon out, big flyers, skipjack. We just used them down in Puerto Vallarta for catching big cows. And
by the way, we just came across those the Fish Taco Chronicle magazines. I'm like, wait a minute. We have bundles of them. I'm like, wait a minute, that's different.
Yeah, you're front cover.
Yeah. Congratulations, by the way.
I'll tell you what, when we were on that trip, we got that fish. It was like out of 4 days, I think it was the second or the third day, we got that big fish. And we have a photographer on board with us for our trips down in Puerto Vallarta. We hire her to be there to take all the pictures. So nobody has to run and get their phone.
Yep.
She is literally there, has
So
good
helpful.
equipment, and she used to be an actual dolphin trainer. So down in Mexico. And so she jumps in the water and takes video of the fish as it's coming to gaff.
No kidding.
She'll swim around and follow that fish while it's coming
Wow.
to gaff. Really, really cool opportunity for us
Yeah.
to have in the water video footage of our fish coming to gaff. Really, really cool. But she shot that picture and I said, oh my gosh, I have got to send that to Sean. You know, maybe he could use it, maybe he can't. But that picture was just so amazing. But I have to tell you guys, it was a little bit of camera magic. And I swear that fish looks like it's about 500 pounds in the picture.
does.
But it taped out at 317. We got it on a live skipjack down there, and it was on the rod that I designed with Randy. As
That's
you
so
see.
cool.
Really,
That's
really
awesome.
cool.
Not really.
And I
Epic story.
gotta tell you, we were on that trip. It was just almost straight big fish. So we'd run inside and we'd fill up the tuna tubes with those skipjacks, and some of them were small, like the candy baits were 3 to 5 pounders, you know, like that. We were trolling with 10-pound skipjack for
No
these
kidding.
tuna. It was crazy, and they were smashing those things.
Wow.
Like a 200-pounder would come up and mash a 10-pound skipjack. I couldn't believe it.
That's
First
crazy.
time I've
So
ever seen
gnarly.
that.
Oh,
it
my
was
goodness.
incredible.
Wow.
So yeah, but that was a trip for a lifetime. I mean, I just can't even imagine.
When was
another
that
one.
again?
That was in October.
October.
of last year.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, Tony. Is that on your bucket list for the summer?
Heck no. I've caught some pretty mighty fish. I can say that I've done it. I'm stepping away from big bluefin, but yet I say that, and then I end up catching more big ones. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I'm over it. I'm over it. Never again. And then,
Yeah.
Curiosity.
You get that next bite.
yeah, just give me
And
the
then it's
30 to 50 pounders all day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
You can do those all day long. Mm-hmm. I love those fish.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
everybody wants to catch a big one, right? I need a cow. No, you don't need a cow. You do not need a cow.
Yeah.
Some people, I really tell them, you really don't need a cow. You know?
Yeah,
But,
especially if they're only fighting it for 10 minutes and they get tired.
Yeah.
And as the deckhand, you're bringing it all the way in for the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah, if you want to stick with it, start to finish, that's great.
Yeah. Good
But
for
don't
you.
even dare say you want a cow if you can only go about 10 minutes on the fish. You know, that's not right.
And you better have the right equipment to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want to see anyone with Alexa 400 and a 9-foot jig stick. Don't
Yeah.
do that,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's what not to do.
Yeah.
Why not
We
to
had
do
we had trips on the Eldo when this stuff first started. When they were in that 90 to 125 pound range, that we've had people come out and they'd hook it and just hand it straight to the crew. And they were there commercial fishing in a sense. They wanted the meat, and the guys at the beginning were like, "Yeah, this is cool." And they're catching all the fish. 2 weeks into that, they're like, "Nah, we don't want to fight your fish."
Yeah.
You hooked it.
Yeah.
You bring it in.
We talking about the 9-footers. Yeah, we had somebody, like we're looking at the UC stuff, and it was like, "Oh, look, this guy's got a 9-foot reaper," and it's like, "Well, that's really cool." Then he hooks a bluefin. It's like, "Well, that's not good."
See you in about 3 hours.
No, actually, we were got that fish up pretty quick because there was a mako out there that bit its motor off.
Straight to the boat.
That helps.
Yeah.
So it had no tail and was able to come up, and we got that fish pretty quick. But it was like, oh man, this is not good. Yeah, you need to have the right tackle to fish these things, and we're really learning. A lot of it has to do with the right technique too.
Yeah.
That's
for
just
sure.
so much of it now. It's like we've come a long way as far as getting these fish. And I remember one trip I was on the boat, and this guy was, in the morning, this guy was on a fish, and I'm like, all right, well, now the rest of the crew's kind of getting up. I'm kind of tired. I'm going to go ahead and take a shower. So I go in and take a shower, and as I'm going to take a shower, another guy hooks up. I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. I come out of the shower, and the fish is on the deck, and I'm like, oh, all right, that's cool. That guy finally got his fish. And I goes, no, that was the guy that hooked up as you went into the shower. He had killed that fish in 10 minutes. The other guy that had been on the fish for an hour, he lost it. So it's just kind
At night?
of going into the gray,
Oh.
But it's just kind of like, man, just kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of technique, it's kind of changed to where, a lot of people, like I grew up always putting a bend in the rod and all that stuff, but now you're supposed to basically point the rod at it and yet let the reel do the work.
I think there's a lot to that though. That's a technique that I personally have used for a long time, because there is a point when you have bottomed out the rod, you got the wrong gear, or
Yeah.
I should say the wrong bite on the lighter gear.
Yeah.
You know, you just got the fish of a lifetime just bit your little bitty sardine that you're fishing on 30. Wrong stuff.
Yeah.
But once the rod is maxed out, you literally lose by trying to put a bend in the rod, because there's nothing to it.
Yeah.
You gain more by being able to pull straight at the fish, point the tip right at them, take the line if you can, pinch the spool if you can, and just try and put inches of line back on the reel. That's the one thing I think that gets lost or isn't talked about enough as we're trying to educate new anglers. Inches of line will turn into catching fish. You don't have to lift the rod 3 feet in the air and try and take 3 feet of line. If you can just continually take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of line, man, that fish starts coming to you, and it literally will swim right to the boat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to have pressure, but you can motivate that fish to come to the boat to get to gaff. And the other part of that scenario, though, is that you have to be confident in the gear that you have, the hook size, the line strength.
Your
the
knots,
knot. You know, because a lot of people don't have that confidence, or they don't know how hard they can pull on this tackle that we have. It's amazing today. I remember 40-pound test 30, 40 years ago that you couldn't pull very hard on. Now, man, stuff's good. And if you take advantage of that, you can start landing some of these fish. I've seen people with 50-pounders just getting tooled, you know, because they're not willing to pull hard enough or tighten the drag down tight enough.
Yeah.
So if people start doing that, they'll have a great year. You know, if they've had trouble in the past with 1 hour fights on 50-pounders, dude, you better turn that drag up. It's better to lose it fast and get back in the water than to lose it after an hour because you took too long. So
yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. As far as like the last, you know, let's just say the last 10 years or so, how has, you know, rod building changed in your eyes?
Well, if you're talking about technology, I think the biggest advances that we've had in technology for rod building is in the guides. Although some, like myself, I don't necessarily think that you need the highest end guide, the most expensive guide on your rod to make a good rod. But I think that the one thing that I really rely on heavily now is the titanium frame guide. Not because of weight. Everybody thinks, oh, titanium's so light and, you know, you're going to lighten up your rod. No. You wouldn't even be able to tell in your hand that you have a rod with titanium guides because the blanks are so heavy for what we do. But that stuff is so corrosion resistant, you will never have one fail. For the life of the rod, you will never have one fail because it corroded off the rod.
Wow.
And I lend out my rods so often. My rods get output on the water a lot. Like, I wish I fished as much as my rods fish. You know what I mean?
Don't we all?
But they come back, and because I use titanium guides, we just rinse them off, wipe them down, and they look brand new for forever. You know, that prototype that we had talked about a little bit about the Deviant that we designed with Randy. The very first one, I built it with the Alps titanium framed heavy duty guides. And we put that thing out spring of 2020. And we put it on the Apollo. Alex, who is now on the Royal Star, he was captain of the Apollo back then. He took it down there. And they caught a 314-pound yellowfin tuna on the kite, on that rod. The gal's name is Sheena Graham. She freaking landed that fish in 45 minutes all by herself. They hooked it. It was on the kite. They set the hook. But she took the rod in 45 minutes, had a 314-pounder on the deck. From that day to today, that rod has the exact same guides. They look brand spanking new. We put three 3-4 grips on it since she caught her fish, and we've caught tons of fish on those. It spent half a season on the Aztec out of Seaforth, every day in the sun, salt spray, everything. Those guides look perfect.
Nice.
And so I think that's one of the biggest things. There's more use of higher end materials available on the market today.
Yeah.
So
And that basically prolongs the life of the rod over time.
100%. You know, there was a time when I think the industry goes in cycles. When I first started building rods, we built rods because it was cheaper to build a good quality rod than to buy a rod off the rack. So that's why we got into it. Then it became where the rods that were on the rack were so good. They had great guides. The guide spacing was good. The blanks were good quality. So everybody started buying factory rods. Well, now we've kind of circled back around to the point where rods on the rack are so expensive, you can actually save money by building it yourself. And now you can upgrade to titanium guides and stuff like that. So I think that the rod industry as a whole is at the point now where blank manufacturers should be doing quite well, or companies that are offering their blanks. One of the cool things that I have at my shop was a rod that I built probably in the late 80s for the store that I was working at. The owner of the store retired. He got rid of all his stuff, and he gave me back that rod that I built. And it was built on a blank that the store got from Daiwa. Daiwa actually offered a blank at the time. And so we built a custom rod on that blank. So I have that rod back at the shop now.
That's really cool.
It's really cool, just to see how things have changed so much.
Yeah. I mean, rod building in general has become pretty popular. I'd say in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, I definitely think, I've had this conversation several times, especially throughout the course of doing shows every year. One of the things that has made, I think, the biggest difference to rod building in Southern California was when Sam Delatorre from Island Fishing Tackle, he made a commitment to the Fred Hall show, I think in 2019, to come to the show and only sell rod building components. He wasn't there to retail any reels, any finished rods. Tackle box, he didn't have any of that. He literally filled his entire booth with rod building components, and it introduced custom rod building to so many people. There's a guy that was there at the show. He bought his first set of guides there, never built a rod before, and the next year, or was it 2 years later, we had a rod building competition, and he won. He won the competition.
Oh, no kidding.
And
Wow.
because of that commitment that Sam made, and his guys helping that kid actually get started in rod building, he was able to, develop his technique, and he ended up, having a show winner.
That's really cool.
It's crazy to connect all the dots here. Like I said, our market, our region of the United States is so unique. You get into stuff here, you can kind of do it anywhere.
Yeah.
I think that a great bait fisherman here in Southern California could go out and catch fish anywhere. I believe that. And the most talented guys are the guys that are great half-day fishermen. Great half-day fishermen, and you could be 13 years old, be a great half-day bait fisherman, and you can go anywhere in the world and catch fish. That's how technical our market is.
Wow.
I can see that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
yeah.
When it comes to building rods for other markets and all that, do you get very many orders or anything off the wall or anything?
I actually try not to branch too far out because my inventory of goods, my supplies, are really Southern California centered. So we bring in and inventory stuff that we would use here. outside of that, probably the freshwater market is a bigger custom rod market, but they're not all decorative. Custom rods for freshwater anglers are small guides, light grips, that kind of stuff. We don't do a lot of that here, and so I don't try to cater to those builders. But of course, we have some. But
Yeah. Butch, when you're on the boat every day and all that, I mean, I can imagine the abuse and the beating that your rods take every single day being out on the boat. But what kind of rod are you looking for the type of fishing that you do on the Eldo?
I'm looking for a 30-pound bait stick. Going to carry a 9-foot jig stick, 30-pound bait stick, and I like to have some fun rods to play with too.
Yeah.
What was the rod you told me about at PCS, the blank? Because I want to get a 9-foot
the
bass rod.
XF. Extra fun.
Yeah.
extra fun.
Yeah.
That is a fun rod. It's a fun rod.
Yeah.
A little parabolic, but man, it's just, you get out there and you hook a yellow, it's kind of fun, as long as he doesn't do anything. Like the last one I got, we were fishing Desperation, and it touched the bottom, and
Oh, no.
it was no more
See
longer
ya.
extra fun. It was extra gone. But I like fishing the UC stuff. I was kind of one of those first guys when it came about to me. It was like, this stuff's really thin walled. I can't get around this stuff. Putting 3 layers of cork tape because it was so skinny. But kind of like once you started getting used to it and then playing with it, it was like, this stuff's nice.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough that, being a part of the United Composites Pro staff is actually how I met Darin. And a lot of that has changed my life. Just crazy, just social media between me and Randy Penny. There's been a lot of good things that have happened from that. But our galley cook, Brian, his favorite rod is the tilefish. He handed one off to a customer and it went overboard. We made him a new one. And between going back to like what Darin says, the finish on it, the guides on it, it's been sitting there being abused, getting hit by the sun. And it's been sitting out there over a year. It's starting to get a little bit of wear on it, but it looks pretty darn good, compared to some of the other rods that we've had there with the finish on it. Not so much just peeling it and yellowing. So put quality components and and the craftsmanship into it. You can have these rods last for a long time. Like Darin's saying, the Deviant's been on the water for a while. So if you spend a little bit of money making, putting the right stuff on it, it's going to last. It's an investment. Rods are not inexpensive. You're talking easy $600+ on a rod.
I was going to say, is this like a bad habit for that boat to have rods go overboard? I mean, you said 2 in a minute, and I'm like, oh no.
We had one guy clipping on into the trolling straps. Yeah, he didn't quite make the clip.
Classic.
That went over.
Classic.
no.
I've seen that before. And then they look at you like, well, what? How did you let that happen? Like, sir, you clipped it in and told me not to touch your stuff. I don't know what else to tell you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's we probably get about 2 a year minimum. Sometimes we have peaks. Down in San Diego one time on the Eldo, we used to be out of Point Loma, in the summer, and we would give the fishermen the tags.
Oh, yeah.
Like, here you go, here's all your tags. This is what you're going to be able to catch for day. Once you get your tags, you're kind of done. And I happen to have one of my rods with a popper on it, and we're catching the football yellowfin, maybe a little bit bigger.
Oh, my favorite.
And I was just like, oh man, I want to give this guy my rod. I want to do this. I said, here, have fun. I gave him my rod, and it seemed like a half hour later he comes back and he's like, he's got this popper and he's got my rod, but he goes, I need some more tags. I'm like, What? Yeah, you're good. You're done for the day. Thank you very
Oh
much.
no!
So,
I thought that story was going a lot more south.
Yeah. Coming back with tags and no rod.
no, I was scared the whole time, but
Yeah.
I eventually did lose that popper. Somebody didn't love it as much as I did.
You know, Butch, you kind of hit the nail on the head with the quality that you're actually paying for. I mean, you're not having to replace rods like you were years and years ago.
Right.
It's basically almost not a one-time investment, but an investment to where it's going to last you quite a while.
Yeah, it's there's definitely you go to Darin's shop. There's a lot of rods in there. You know, we have some other that are friends that kind of store stuff over there sometimes, and it's been there. You know, they've had them for a while, and I can definitely say that. You know, the same thing with me. I have some rods that I don't use as much anymore, but darn, they're still good quality rods, and I don't want to sell them.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
Darin, first to you, a question for both of you. So what would be, for the typical Southern California style of fishing, whether it's a half day or even just, not even big bluefin because that's a whole different ballgame, but the schoolie size bluefin, the schoolie size yellowfin and all that, what's a good all-around rod that you could recommend?
You know, if we're talking line class, I would say if an angler was buying their first rod, their very first rod, and unsure how far they're going to go with it, buy something that you can fish 30-pound test. If you found one that you liked that would fish 30-pound test, you're probably going to be able to use it for just about everything up to maybe yo-yo fishing jigs for yellowtail because it'd just be too soft.
Yeah.
But I think that's the first right step, and one of the things that I try to encourage people as they come through and they want to talk about rods is don't be afraid to plan out a few steps. You know, here's your 30-pound rod. That's your first one that you're going to buy. And from there, you can always come back and talk to us. Okay, now I need this pound test. Now I need that pound test. And if you're buying good quality product, you will have that first 30-pound rod by the time you have your 10th rod. You'll have the exact same 30-pound rod if you make a great choice.
And you're probably using that 30-pound rod more than anything else.
Right. You're going to be able to use that thing
Yep.
for just about everything.
Yeah.
You know?
My favorite setup is a UC. It's a 30-pound.
Yeah.
30-pound set. I love that thing. That's
Yeah.
every single time I go to that rod.
Yeah. 30-pound rod's really good to have.
Yeah. And, you know, I always say that every rod manufacturer on the planet, every rod manufacturer can build a good 50-pound rod and under. So you have a lot of choices, a lot of choices for a good 30-pound rod. Of course, you know, if you came to me, I would want you to be buying, you know, a UC or a higher end blank. But all of the stuff that is under 50 pound, no problem. You can buy any brand and it will serve you well from now until you decide to get rid of it or replace it or expand your quiver of rods or whatever. But a 30-pound rod should hold up and should last.
Yeah. I agree.
Nice. Butch, any comments? Pretty good, pretty stellar. 30-pound rod.
You know, I think Darin said it pretty much, nailed it pretty good, is a lot of companies make a good rod, so we can't say that, excuse me, there'll be one over the other. Darin's just introduced the TTR 310 Rodworks 6480s. We don't have a lot of them out fishing yet, but we've, you know, definitely had some stuff in so that December trip on the Royal Star?
Yeah.
On the Shogun.
On the Shogun.
So that's been a new rod. It's a lighter rod, and I think a lot of people are really going into that. It's offered in 3 colors? 4 colors? 3 colors. Red, white.
There's actually 5 colors now, but 3 basic colors, whether it be red, blue, white, and clear coat black, you know, just the regular finish. But that's a fantastic rod, and we're literally just now rolling out the production rods, and they're going to be affordable. They're going to have good quality components on them. They're going to be very fishable. So that's addressing the need and coming back to the business side of it. As a company, we need to be able to provide to the entry-level angler a good quality product, not point them in the direction of just what they can afford, but actually build something that they can afford that's good quality.
Yeah.
And so that's where that whole line of TTR 6480s came from. It's a great blank. Honestly, you can beat people over the head with it and you won't break it, So it goes
Perfect.
Yeah,
I need it for Darin.
You need a durable
Thank you.
blank on the entry level end of fishing, because it's going to get abused in the hands of somebody who's just learning. So they need something that's not going to fail. I wouldn't necessarily want somebody to buy something super high end and then high stick it bouncing a blue perch because they accidentally caught a blue perch on their dropper loop rig and have the tip come off of it or something. That would just be the worst possible scenario. But if we can give them a great rod that they can high stick, that they can bounce a blue perch on and not break it, all good.
Yeah.
All good. Now we have a customer hopefully for life, and have them hooked on going back out there and spending more money on fishing trips and buying more tackle. That's what we're here for. It's not necessarily just to promote our own brand. It's to promote the whole activity of fishing and getting people. Gosh, I would love to have people as jacked about fishing as I've been,
Yep.
just really committed to doing this activity. Of course, there's other sports and there's other hobbies, but for me personally, fishing has been it for, the lion's share of my years here. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Has I'll call it the newbie of fishing, has that always been a pretty good market for you, or is this kind of brand new since COVID?
No, I think because of my years in the business and identifying how critical it is to create branding, we've always had the need to meet the new angler and get them accustomed to hearing our brand name, whatever that brand name is. And so for us now, being able to use social media, we can actually speak to them directly now and answer their questions directly now. Instead of having to meet them at Fred Hall's show, meet them on the boat, we can actually have conversations more immediately and try to develop that relationship with them. So I think the newbie fishermen, what I don't like about the newbie fishermen is when they're on their third trip. Their first trip, they caught some fish. Their second trip, they caught some fish. They're now on their third fish of their third trip of their life. They strap on a GoPro. They start giving pro tips. They give tackle recommendations, and I'm watching this stuff, and I'm like, I guess maybe that's a good idea, but what I would prefer is for people to slow down a little bit and actually listen to the deckhands, listen to the captain, listen to the guy that's catching all the fish.
Yep.
Not just assume that the last two trips are proof, facts that they can rely on to repeat every time that they're out there recommending what people should do, buy, use.
Yeah.
So.
Amen. Amen to that.
My response to those questions is it's all personal preference. I'm not going to give you any tips, because then you're going to come back to me and say, well, it didn't work for me. Well, it's all personal preference, really. And when it comes down to it, when it comes to, like, if you fish artificials, colors, all that, it's all personal preference.
One of the things that I've really, really enjoyed in my time going on the long range trips, what I really love? Get around the old guys that have been doing this for years.
Yeah.
Just let them talk. Let them talk about their day that we just had, because they're going to drop some little jewels out there on the table, and you're going to like, oh
Just
my God.
listen and pay
that
attention.
is so cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
This guy was catching bluefin 40 years ago on the same tackle that he has today. Maybe it's upgraded a little bit, but the same basic process and the same ideas have lasted all these years. Pick a good bait, match your tackle to what you're catching, you know, and be good at casting. Learn how to cast.
Yeah.
You know? So I just love that part.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Just let them go, because chances are they love to talk and love to ramble. Just let them do it. Let them rip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Take notes.
Take notes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Shut up and take notes.
Yeah. Butch, before we let you go,
Yes, sir.
What's your favorite style of fishing? What's your perfect, I guess, all around trip? If you were to choose anything, where would you go and what would you do?
San Clemente Island, fly lining squid for calico bass.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
interesting.
I like it.
Interesting.
I like
That
it.
would be
That'd be
the
the
go-to.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky, you get a sea bass or a yellowtail. But man, just let me catch some calicos.
That's
Yeah.
going to be our trip in June
yeah.
on your boat. That's what. Yep.
Yeah.
Bass trip.
Yeah. Do you run into squid very often out there?
Things have kind of changed about how we get squid.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that stuff's we get off the squid boat.
Yeah.
So we're just taking care of them, and they're giving us squid. Yeah, we still run into nests, but a lot of this has changed where light boats are floating it out there and selling it to the sport boats and saving us a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's you get to Nick and Clemente. Sometimes into Santa Barbara, you'll get some nice squid beds and hopefully have some stuff under the boat.
Yeah. Darin, what about you, man?
Man, I tell you what, I've been on some dream trips, dude. And, like so many great trips. I probably don't even deserve to have gone on that many great trips. But one of my all-time favorite places to fish is Guadalupe Island. You have
Been there.
I mean, it is just, it's magical down there, you know. And the fishing is super consistent, and it's like you're pulling up to Catalina or Clemente. I mean, it's the same visual experience, and you're hooking 100-pound tuna.
I was going to
On the
say
anchor.
species are different. But
Yeah. But they got giant calico bass there. They got tons of calico bass.
Yes,
on
they
that
do.
island.
Big ones too.
Yeah, and yellowtail fishing, but the tuna fishing really was where it was at when we've gone down there. Everybody targeted the tuna, and this last time that they had reopened it, we were one of the first boats back down there, and it was insane how good the fishing was. It was 70 to 100 pounders all after, like we got there at I think 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Put the anchor down, came tight, threw some bait. Current started moving. It didn't happen right away, but current started moving, and man, it was on. And I think out of 25 guys, we had 71 yellowfin tuna between 70 and 100 pounds the first day.
Oh my God.
It was crazy.
Yep.
And
Talk
it
about
was
a hell of
like,
a start.
that's one of those trips that somebody would go on and then they'd start giving tackle tips on because it was so easy. It was
Yeah.
incredibly easy to get those bites. But man, it was, I just love that place. I love that
My
place.
first long range trip was to Guadalupe. I did a 6-day on the Searcher.
There's
It was
nothing
great.
better.
Yeah.
There's just, and like I said, I've been on some really fantastic trips, but that has got to be my favorite. That's got to be my favorite.
One of these days when they open it up,
Yeah.
we'll go.
Yeah, and I wouldn't count it out. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know anything that's going on down there. You know, I'm not in the know or anything, but I have to believe that it's going to become available again to us. And I was just having this conversation just yesterday. When it happens, if you're big into yellowtail and tuna fishing and the opportunity to catch a big calico bass, seriously, pay the fee. Pay whatever
Yep,
it costs
I agree.
to go once. It may not be worth it to go multiple times in a row. Like, it's going to get super expensive, but it would be worth it to go once.
Yeah.
and then you'll be spoiled. So
Yeah. Man, well, Darin, before we let you guys go, I just want to say thank you because you've been a huge supporter of CCA, of donating rods. It seems like every time we see you at a show, we're getting a rod to donate or to fundraise off of, and all that stuff. And I think you came to the barbecue last year at the Compton Club, and we thank you, man. It was awesome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's great to get down here and spend some time with you.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you again for all your support, and looking forward to another good year in 2024.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But how do we get a hold of you? How do we get in touch with you on how to buy rods and all that stuff, your socials, all that good stuff?
So we have a Facebook page. We've got Instagram page. You can find us there, 310 Rodworks, or my name, Darin Dohi. We also do some other things as well. We own the Sato Crimp and Line Winder Company. We have Swifty Manufacturing, which is Spectra washing system. So you can remove the line off your reel, wash it, get it all the funk all out of it.
Oh,
and you can actually treat your spool, which a lot of people don't do. I get it. It's kind of a hassle. But if you could pull the line off your reel, not only service the reel, but also service the spool so that you don't get that corrosion buildup on the spool itself. That's when the reel just goes bad quick. So we have the Swifty Spectra line washing system. We've got Facebook pages for those. We're very heavily marketed online, and so you can reach out to us there. Or you can give me a call. My office number is 310-817-5145. I'm usually at the shop. My wife is very kind. Very kind woman. But at the same time, what we've done to make it more comfortable around our shop for all of us, we've got a giant table there, and we have a Blackstone grill, a barbecue, air fryer. We've got water. We're putting in an ice maker. We've got ice cream in the fridge. So if somebody needs a break and they need a cold soda or they need an ice cream bar, ice cream sandwich, you come and visit 310 Rodworks.
Oh my
We'll get you set up.
Tony, we should have been doing this podcast out there.
We would love for you guys to come out.
How'd we mess
That'd be
this
awesome.
one up?
Okay, so one of the funniest things that come out of our group of friends over the last 10 years probably is, how everybody says, I want to get on the pro staff or I'm on the field staff for this company. Well, we have the food staff. So we've got this giant table. We've got the opportunity to cook food fresh right there at the shop. Man, if you guys want to plan a day just to come up, Wayne has been there to my shop and we've done breakfast there. We would just love to have you guys visit us.
I'm mesmerized.
So,
Let's
be
do
fun.
it. Let's do it for sure.
I'm hungry.
I know, me too. Oh man, what about you, Butch? Anything exciting going on? I know we're trying to get you off the dock more, but the weather has not been cooperating.
Yeah.
We have a couple trips with you this season.
Yeah, it's just that time of year every year. Doesn't change. Mother Nature kind of shuts us down for a little while, but that'll be changing quick. We have a new website, EldoradoSportfishing.com. It looks pretty cool, if I may say so myself.
Nice.
You can book online through that website, and the new number that's associated with that website is 424-235-3685. Looks like we have a 2-day trip with CCA on the 28th of June. Looks like we have another Inland
Empire trip. Yep.
Inland Empire trip, and I guess we're kind of working with the Western Outdoor News trip
Yep.
as well. So it looks like we're stuck at the hip for at least 4 days.
Yep.
I know. Darin, you're going to do that back-to-back 2-day, right? You're going to represent us,
I'm thinking, because our trip's June 7th and 8th.
You're going to be fishing the Eldo a lot this year.
I love it. I caught my personal best sheephead on the Eldorado at San Nick.
awesome.
Sure.
That is awesome.
Yep, a few years ago.
We do appreciate that CCA is spending some time on the boat. We'd like to give you guys a good time.
Yeah.
Boat
It's always a
burger,
good time on the Eldo.
breakfast burrito. We like to think that our bunk room is comfortable. One thing that we get a lot of people talk about our passengers is our heads. That we actually that they're big and clean.
Yeah.
We run fresh water through our toilets, so there's no after smell. We have nice showers. TJ wanted to make the showers a little bit bigger. I told him no, because that only meant that the walls are you're gonna slam into a wall. A little bit more force as you come into weather, just enough to get you in there.
You can't forget about that. The soda machine too.
Yeah, I guess we've had that soda machine that it's just kind of, for us, it's just there, and
Almost my favorite feature of the boat. To be
Right.
honest.
yeah.
Ice machine.
Yep, ice
Crunchy
machine.
ice. Crunchy ice.
Oh, the
and
crunchy
so,
ice?
Yes.
Yep.
It's great.
I'm
It is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we enjoy having people out, and there's a lot of choices for sport boats to overnight boats that we do, but try to control what we can control. Can't control the weather, can't control the fishing, but we can keep the boat nice and clean and be courteous to you, and go from there. I know that, upstairs, the electronics, I'm very blessed to be able to work on a boat that is really dialed in like that. I think we just put a new seat in last night.
Yeah.
Nice. And typically, when you're not chartered, it's pretty much the overnight boat out of Long Beach Sportfishing. Right?
Correct, berth 55, yes.
Yeah. So pretty much running trips almost every night during the summer.
Yeah, it gets there were some times where it's just kind of like we didn't even know what day it was.
Yeah.
So.
I hear that's a common occurrence when you work on a boat so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the good things of going out of berth 55 is if you get there early enough, you can grab lunch at the seafood spot there.
People grab lunch at the seafood spot.
Plenty of parking.
Oh, parking's great.
Parking is fantastic.
Yes, it is.
You get your bunk assignments as you check in.
Yep.
So, first come, first serve. So you kind of decide where you want to be in the bunk room. I have my own bunk that I stay into, but there's a few prime bunks that are like, yeah, you really want this. And there's also a couple of bunks that's like, people don't know about. Like, that's the one you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Personally, I like the one that's all the way on the starboard side, all the way in front, that little room that nobody knows about.
That's the best one.
Darren's shaking his head
Yeah.
over here.
We all are.
I usually take bunk 2 if I can get it, but
I think,
but the forward rooms are awful nice.
Yeah.
So
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was great having you guys.
it's
Thanks
always
for
good to
inviting
be
us.
here.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to do this again towards the end of the year, but you'll have to come back and give us a little end of the year report, how the year went.
no problem.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tony, Darin,
Yep.
fascinating episode. Fascinating.
Always.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is great.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for this week of the CCA California podcast. Make sure to go follow us on Instagram at CCA California. Also, don't forget to register for the 2024 Star Tournament at joincca.org. And with that, we will see you guys next week. Take care.